Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to the Grounded Bag Podcast. I'm your host, Aisha Ansa. And before we get into today's discussion, I just want you all to just take a step back, breathe in and out, because this is a safe space. We have a lot in our bags. Could be trauma, could be stress, could be everything in it. So let's work together to debunk that so that way we can all move a little lighter by using transparency, spiritual guidance, and also honesty and truth in a safe space. So if you all have not already, please go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel and plant roots with us because the Grounded Bad podcast is sponsored by Rooted with Aisha, where we're authentic and truth meets ancestry and also authenticity. And most importantly speaking, plant roots with us. But if you're not ready to make that commitment and subscribing to this channel, thank you so much for joining us. And we hope that this message is a blessing to you as well. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to this channel, but also share this video with whomever you think needs this video the most. And if you all have not started keeping up with the Grounded Bag podcast, we did do a video podcast about, I believe it was the homeownership experience. Please go ahead and check out that video because it's a lot of information, but it's also an in-depth conversation about the real, raw experience and addressing the times that we're living in. So if you have not already done that, please do. And we have our beautiful Essence, Queen Makita, Dr. Makita to all of us. So Dr. Makita Ensa, she is a light, and I'm so grateful that she has joined us once again on another in-depth conversation as well as she is representing the Soul Revitalist Network. But most importantly speaking, I will be linking all of Dr. Makita's information in the description box so that way you all are able to refamiliarize yourself with Dr. Makita as well as her website and and just to keep up with all that is that she's doing. So, welcome back, Dr. Makita. How does it feel to be back?
Well, thank you so much, Aisha. I'm so proud of you and all that you're doing. And thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's wonderful to be back. I thank the Lord I'm here, I'm alive, and I'm able to grace you and your viewers.
We're so happy that you're here too. And
Mhm.
as many of you know, I am an MSW candidate, but also on this channel, I've talked a lot about mental health, even the shorts that I also do, and even the stories of the past, present, and future that I share. But I also just wanted to share something that really impacted me and gave me an aha moment.
Mhm.
As well as I think that this is something that we've been on the journey to get to, if we're being
Mhm.
honest with ourselves, and
Mhm.
really having the discussion about why our traumas feel normal, as well
Mhm.
as how does ego-systonic patterns, both the ego-systonic and dystonic patterns and attachment theory applies to it. Because sometimes including theory and including these big words, it's like, what does this have to do with my pain, or what does this have to do with what I've experienced in life? But it's all connected, but it all matters in how we choose to view it and also how we choose to create that safe space around it. So before we start, let's just start with a question. Like, what does it mean when trauma feels normal? Like, what does that mean to us?
Um, Trauma free is normal for many reasons. Um, it's a it's a comfort zone. First of all, when we experience trauma, it's a shock to the system, to the brain. And it's as if you're stuck because all of your defense mechanisms are down. You didn't expect that to happen, be it be from a stranger or someone you know. I think that also it's even more deep, but it's someone that you know because this person's supposed to protect you. So you feel this overwhelming feeling of hopelessness, powerlessness, and you're confused. You're shocked. So it can feel normal, first of all, if it's introduced as a normal pattern. For example, if you're a child being abused by a parent or a relative and they tell you, it's okay, this happens and it's gonna feel good and don't tell anybody and I love you or this is what we're supposed to do. Your
Mm-hmm.
childlike mind doesn't know better, right? You feel that it's abnormal, but you can't explain it. So when you're fed this narrative, it will become normal for a while until you get older and you start to grow and mature and you realize this is wrong. And sadly by that time the damage has already been done. For the most part, your brain has soaked this up as a normal behavior, and then you may also feel a sense of guilt. Like, I did something to deserve this. Because people would tell you, you're a bad girl or a bad boy and you're being punished, or this is what you get because you did that, right? Or you're not being a good daughter, a good son, or a good niece or nephew. So this is what you get. So you're normalizing, these are normalizing behaviors. And you remember, we fail or succeed in life because of our state of mind. So when the mind has been tainted in such a way, it's hard for you to get your grip on life. So in order for us to get to the other side, we have to unpack these patterns, where they come from. We have to we have to do the deep rooted work, right? To renounce them. These become spiritual strongholds.
It
So we
does.
have to renounce them spiritually. I'm a minister, so I would say, in the name of Jesus, get the heads, get the behind these Satan. This is your work, right? And other things. But you also have to expose the people that have done this to you. You have to find the courage to do so. And that's not always something that's easy to do, right? So we feel powerless. So for many years in a person's life, the trauma becomes normal to you, and you just say, "Oh, it happens. No one's gonna care. No one's gonna listen to what I have to say. This is just life. You have to live with it." Many people, even adults, right? 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s or more older, have lived with trauma their entire life. So they do become normal patterns, right? But that's where we as clinicians, or people who are trained, that's where we really have to get in there and use our skills, our giftedness, our
Mm-hmm.
skills, and also emotional intelligence to approach people. You know, we need to get
Yeah.
people to talk to us. We need people to talk to us. We need to make them feel safe. Bring the temperature down. If they feel cold, allow them to feel a sense of warmth, that they can trust us so that we can erase these abnormal patterns because they're not good. So they shouldn't, nothing is that's bad should be normal. No, nothing. Only good things. That's what God wants for us. So, yeah, so normalizing these patterns sadly are a norm. No pun intended, but it is our job
Mm-hmm.
to unlearn these things and spread the message, get the message out there, which is why I'm happy that, you're leading this mantle to do this, and yeah, and you're not even finished with your graduate work. This is so you're, letting the world know this is who I am, this is what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
and you're bringing this awareness and that you're leading the pathway, to seeing people be healed. So I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, because why this topic was so important for me to talk about is because
Mm,
I myself, even growing up, sometimes you can feel as though you're in that routine, like
mm,
you're in that form of routine where either if you're the encourager, either if you're that person that talks up, or either if
yeah.
you're just in that space,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes everything in life you need a balance.
Yeah, but quickly. I understand what you just said. What will help with that is when you realize that people people need the ability to voice their own thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
and it happens in stages for people.
Yeah.
We just need to learn to plant those seeds, but do so lovingly and not make people feel judged or because that's going to add on to the trauma, right? People are
Yeah.
already distressed as it is, so we need to plant those seeds to make people feel safe and open and they could talk to us. So we have to be
Mm-hmm.
careful what we do on a daily basis. Can
Absolutely.
we be trusted with someone's thoughts and emotion? Do we know how to communicate and say, well, okay, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? Hopefully they'll understand. If they don't, well, that's on them, right? So you can only do your part. And I think when we realize that, it will provide that balance. And that goes into what you're talking about, the distancing, from these old habits that we have. We always want to
Mm-hmm.
step in and fix things and help everybody else, but we are only capable of change within our own selves. And that's the
Yes.
biggest example. Our change behavior, our transformation. Because people are always watching. So that for all who's listening, if you feel overwhelmed that you're doing all of these things, that you're trying to help and keep balancing your life, the only way you can really do that is focus on doing the good things that you can do and let people see your transformation. That's the biggest example, really. And by doing so, you'll become a magnet. They want to know, how did she do that? That's when they'll start asking you. So sometimes we have to talk less and do more
Yes.
action internally.
And we're
Mm-hmm.
listening. Absolutely, absolutely. Because
Yeah.
when you said that, it brought up that thought, like, why, for some instances, like, when
Mm-hmm.
do we come to that point where we feel as though we realize it's something unhealthy felt familiar and safe? Because oftentimes, and
Mm-hmm.
unhealthy in terms of a pattern or feeling
Mm-hmm.
the need to micromanage, control, or take that
Mm-hmm.
lead versus allowing everyone in your family, or either if it's a marriage or relationship or if it's your workplace,
Mm-hmm.
to stand in their roles and be in it. And oftentimes that can also inhibit your own personal growth. And that's something that I've also noticed even working with clients and even working in the field of crisis
Mm-hmm.
care is that there's always, even as an MSW candidate, there's always that at the back of your head resources like what can I do to support, what can I do to support. But how often do we take a step back and say, wait a minute, let me have this person tell me what they need, because that
Yeah.
also falls into overworking ourselves to burnout, but also
Yeah.
not giving that person the autonomy and the
Mm-hmm.
permission to lead.
Yeah.
And even if they don't know, then let them lead at their own pace, because there's 100 million people in the world that need support and resources. But if we feel as though, let me just
Mm-hmm.
suggest something to go on to the next client,
Yes.
one, morally, it leaves that space. Like, okay, I probably could have done a little
Yeah.
bit more, or maybe I probably could have suggested more, but it's
Mm-hmm.
it's something to really note.
But in terms of family, because that's where everybody,
Mm-hmm.
even the people that you will encounter in
Yeah.
your line of work, every issue stems from their nuclear family, their
Mm-hmm.
origins, whether it's their mother, father, siblings, extended family, something happened there. Just like in the beginning, everything, Adam and Eve wanted to know good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
So we all know evil now, right?
Yep. We know
So there
it.
you go, you know. So the weapons are now in hand. Do we use it? Do we don't? So the thing with that, to really maneuver family dynamics, and that you mentioned, that some things can inhibit your personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
The only person that can inhibit your personal growth is you.
Mm-hmm.
When you learn there's things that you cannot control.
Yes.
When people see you steady doing what you're supposed to do, answering the calling, that's all they need to see.
Mm,
You cannot tell them XYZ and give them the answers. They have to find the answers because remember, everyone has their own lot. Everyone, may end up somewhere else doing, sometimes we overlook a person's gifts. They may overlook it themselves, and the answers are right in front of us, but we don't want to see it because we've also been conditioned by society to telling us what to do. When you grow up, you can do this, you can do that. We have people from the far left, the far right telling us how we should spend our resources, our money, and use our time, and we're being controlled. We're like minions. So when you have all of that, we need to really dig deep and obey God's word and off. And He said in His word, My grace is sufficient. So we
mm-hmm,
have to receive His grace and extend it. The
mm-hmm,
more we do that and show love and understanding, it's going to set us up to be the best counselors, therapists, social workers, pastors, you name it, whatever title you have,
mm-hmm. It
right?
is. It is.
Yeah, it's going to set us up for success. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm so happy that you mentioned that because speaking of setting us up for success, to to accompany that with our core concept of of the two egos, the systonic
Mm-hmm.
and dystonic.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to make sure that it's important that the definitions are clear for our audience that's watching, but as well as even for ourselves. That when you look at ego systonic,
Mm-hmm.
this encusps the thoughts, behaviors, or feelings, as well as in
Mm.
harmony with one's self-image. So it could either be what feels normal to the person. Let's say I've heard individuals say that they were either the eldest in the family or the caregiver of their loved one, and they
Mm-hmm.
that was something that they either stepped into, it was either expected, or either it
Mm-hmm.
was they felt conditioned to do it. And then from
Mm-hmm.
there on, they felt as if they needed to be the caregiver either professionally at work, in their personal lives, to their mates,
Mm-hmm.
partner. And oftentimes that feels normal and it becomes a part of who we are. And when you accompany that with the ego dystonic,
Mm-hmm.
that actually does really showcase the conflict of that because the ego
Mm.
systonic is the harmony with oneself, whereas the ego dystonic is our thoughts, behaviors, and feelings are in conflict with one's self-image. So at that point, that's when you have individuals who are going through either midlife crisis where what they knew for sure, they no longer believe that that's their image or they no longer believe that
Mm-hmm.
that's them. And the feeling of that is it feels distressing, it feels foreign. So you feel like you're like, who am I? If you take away that I'm a caregiver, mom, parent, wife, sister, brother, or husband, son, father, employee of the month, or like when you take away what makes us and applies to our self-image, we we don't know where to turn or we
Mm-hmm.
don't know where to go. And just as the images are showing, you see the beautiful brown woman is in the sun, and then you see the young man in the darkness where he's questioning his life. So that leads me to the question as when it comes to ego systonic and the patterns, why do we protect them when in some ways they've become normalized to us? But why do you think we hold on to it for dear life?
I'm glad you asked that question. As you were showing, explaining both, you did that beautifully. I can only answer it the way that God would want me to answer it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at the young woman, right? The ego is syntonic. It says thoughts, behaviors, or feelings in harmony with one's self-image. And I think about Genesis 1:26 to 27, where God said,
Mhm.
let us make man in our image. So
Mhm.
God created us to be in harmony with his image, right? And
Mhm.
that will make you feel normal, like a normal person, because that's what you know. At the
Mhm.
time, Adam and Eve only knew that. They only knew that they were creating God's image. They didn't have anything to worry about. Everything was provided for them. The earth, the universe, the animals, everything was already there. So they didn't have to stress about anything. Their thoughts weren't divided until they sinned, they disobeyed. So as sin is a transgression of God's law. So now we are in this dispensation now. We're living this life out as a result of sin. So now stress is induced upon us. We now have decisions to make we wouldn't have had to make prior to the fall. So how do we maneuver? And that we that and to do this successfully, we have to keep this memory that we were created in God's image and likeness. And what would
Mhm.
God want us to do? Now, it's a very hard thing to contend with that when you're surrounded by people who may not have those thoughts, may not have the heart after God to do the right thing or to
Mhm.
even think that way. And that's the real problem, is the environment that a person is in. Because you have people around who may be selfish.
Yeah.
They want all of the attention to themselves, whether it's your older parent, your child, a relative. Their life is messed up. They're going through their crisis. They're afraid. Fear is a big factor. And
Mhm.
you're over here trying to be great.
Trying to be
You're over
great.
here trying to feel normal and basking in all the sun. Look at her. She's
Smell the
basking in the sun
roses.
and yeah, because all is right with you.
You feel sure
For
about
some
everything.
reason, God has blessed you and birthed you into this world feeling confidence in Him, and you just have this glow and this anointing, right? And everybody else is out there, or some people are
Mhm.
around you. You may be the only reason in the sun is basking in the sun, and other people are under these dark clouds for whatever reason that they chose. They chose a choice. Ask yourself, do you want to go continue life feeling depressed and down and hopeless and always complaining and whining and why me and why her and not me? And you see jealousy. See, it goes back to character. It goes back to your mind, your
Mhm.
state of mind. You know your heart condition, right? That's what brings people stress. We're not satisfied. You know, your brother or sister is there and they're doing well and be happy for them.
Mhm.
You will get your turn. You have a different path, a different life. So we need to have this narrow focus onto what is right. So the ego dystonic says thoughts, behaviors, or feelings in conflict with one's image. So what would be in conflict? Because we know evil,
Yeah, we do.
we have options now.
Mhm.
I can choose not to do it. I can choose to disobey. I can choose not to follow what I want to do. And it takes great courage to follow your heart. You have sometimes you have to be the only one thinking a such certain way, you know?
And
And
then the guilt.
you won't because the guilt sets in. I know that all too very well. But
Mhm.
I can also tell you that when I went against what was in my heart to do, and I overcome with guilt and I made a bad decision, my life went a different path and it became harder for me.
Mhm.
So I would say, we need to pray for that courage. Even if no one else believes, you have to believe because we are living in these times. This is 2026. We're having
Mhm.
these discussions now. Not just we're not entertaining people. We're giving people information and knowledge and wisdom, right? We're sharing it with others. We're not keeping it to ourselves. We're not following trends. We want to get people rooted, right? in
Yes.
God's word, in his understanding, and
Mm-hmm.
also to know that he has sent people out to help. So a lot of people you may encounter in your line of work, they're ego-dystonic, they're distressed, they're in conflict, so that's why they come to you. Or
Mm-hmm.
that's why you may have a dysfunctional family that took it too far, and the family, they may not feel safe, there's domestic violence, whatever, the children have to be split up. That's done in tandem with one's self-image. Yeah, that's out the door right now.
You are
So,
so right about that.
you know,
But why do you think that ego dystonic discomfort shows up when the healing begins? Because
oh, good question. Yes.
like you said, who made your environment, or because some individuals, if you're listening, if that individual's listening right now, maybe the first child, middle child, last child may feel obligated to take care of the parent because by ways of sometimes culture could be a factor, or you may feel obligated that my parents stayed together for many, many years, and you're
Mm-hmm.
currently in this marriage or relationship, but it's not feeding you spiritually, mentally, or physically. But
Mm-hmm.
by ways of the norm and culture and tradition, you still have to stay in
Right.
this marriage just to please family. So what would you speak to that? Because discomfort can show up when
Mm-hmm.
healing begins, but
Yes.
as this is the grounded bag, so the baggage, how does one leave that
Well,
man, Savannah? But how
well,
does one
well,
release themselves?
well, you just said it.
Mm-hmm.
The discomfort comes up because it's telling you have to make a decision,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people sadly carry this baggage until it consumes them.
Yeah. Yes.
So you have to make a decision. You have to, and at times it's for your very life, for your health, your well-being. You have to
Yes.
leave. You have to pack that bag up and get on a plane, get your keys,
Get in a boat.
get in a car, a boat, a plane, whatever it is, and leave.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why a lot of people are leaving this country because the baggage is just getting more heavier. The load is getting heavier and heavier.
It
You leave
is.
it, leave. It could be, it's a love place.
Could
Sometimes
be or job.
we have expired in a place,
Yeah, or a job.
or a
Like,
job, or a marriage. Because a lot of these things were never for us. We thought they
mm-hmm.
were, but we can still, in order not to still feel that guilt or burden or that
Mm-hmm.
resentment or that regret, we have to realize that this is a part of our journey of growth.
Yeah.
Because at one point the place may have worked
Mm-hmm.
for that tenure, right? The marriage, I would say it should be God ordained, but we should
Mm-hmm.
still learn from it.
I agree.
And if you have children, be transparent and explain to them, this is where I was, this is what we're thinking, but nevertheless, I don't regret having you, and I want you to really see, I want you to observe the things that happen and don't repeat them. Be very
Mm-hmm.
clear about what you want, where do you want to go, how do you want to get there. And don't follow advice on the internet of people saying there's no handbook. That's a lie.
Yeah.
God has given us all the knowledge and wisdom. We just need to seek it. We ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be open. So to answer your question, the ego dystonic shows up when it does show up a lot when change is near or imminent.
Or
It's telling
imminent.
you you have to make a decision. The rubber, what to say? The rubber meets the road.
That too.
Skirt, skirt.
Exactly. But why
You
do you
have to,
think, yeah,
yeah,
but why do you think survival starts to feel like identity? Because when you look between
because it's
ego,
a choice.
systemic, and this, yes, I just,
Survival should never feel like identity. It's
mm,
a choice. It's out of fear. You're just afraid to go. You're just afraid to make that decision. I know for me, when I came onto the U.S. mainland, because we're U.S. citizens from the U.S. Virgin Islands, and when we came
mm-hmm,
onto the mainland, that's a big decision. But it was easy
yeah,
because my mother and brother were deceased by this time. So I didn't have any one time, that guilt wasn't there, no longer there
Mm-hmm.
to leave, but I knew it was time to leave. The signs were there, but it was still hard because I was already 30 and that was the only place I knew as home. But God said go, and I'm glad I did because I wanted to learn and grow. It was always there for me to do. I didn't have the courage to leave before my foster mother was still alive. And she was like, who's gonna take care of me? Because she didn't want to leave. So I stayed, and I was always supposed to go. But I
Mm-hmm.
did the honorable thing to take care of her, and that, but it was hard though because I wasn't equipped financially, and I was still a young woman. I was raising you and your siblings, and there wasn't that support there. There wasn't resources there to help with the elderly. There still isn't, and that's another conversation, right?
A whole hour of
Yeah, so I
conversation on
know
that.
these feelings. I know where the ego, systemic. I was always that girl, basking in the sun, in all of God's glory.
Yeah.
But I also learned to sacrifice,
Yes.
But
And that's
then
hard.
obedience is better than sacrifice, though,
There you go.
because staying there did it almost destroyed. Yeah, almost destroyed everything I knew to be as a person.
Mm-hmm.
But I did believe that God's grace really was sufficient and it kept me up and through those times. And I had to really let go of that resentment and that, my gosh, I wish if I did this, I would have been this. And we have all those feelings, and these feelings also contribute to the ego, the other one. Because
Dystonic.
this tonic, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, these things, so we have to unpackage them.
You have to unpack it. And speaking of
We,
unpacking it, that will also lead us into discussing attachment
hmm,
styles because we're making this clinical, but it's literally all connected, both clinical and spiritual, because it all leads back to the same source. And because you said
yes,
something so poignant that you had to make a decision, but that also goes back to our attachment, because sometimes we can be
yes.
attached to a person, place, or thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that also goes back to the kind of attachment styles that we are, because sometimes, not to generalize it for a moment, sometimes we can be attached to a person by ways of we high school sweethearts. So we, in some ways, I don't want to say trauma bonded, but shared in common feelings that can also lead to a trauma bond if you have something in common together.
Mm-hmm.
Either if it's you pretty much where each other has. For some individuals, it could be divorce, it could be intimate partner violence, or it could be assault or abuse in the home at a young age. So
Mm-hmm.
it can create the level of attachment styles that we have in relationships, workplace,
Mm.
and in friendships. So as we look at the attachment styles in adults, there are four: secure, dismissive, avoidant, anxious, preoccupied, or disorganized. So, as we look at these different styles, we're looking at it from this perspective where you have, if you're secure, you have the feelings of comfort and trust, positive
Mm-hmm.
self view, positive view of others, and you're comfortable with closeness, emotional involvement, or being dependent on or depending on others. So you're secure in yourself, but you're also mindful that you can let others support you along the way. But then you
Mm-hmm.
have other forms of attachment styles where many of them, it has a positive, model for individuals who are either high avoidance, low avoidance, or high anxiety. But for individuals who either have attachment styles like dismissive or avoidant, you're independent, positive view, self view, but there are some negative view of others. It could either be avoiding attachment, closeness, emotional relationships, relying on others, or relying on others, or others relying on them. So it can create that form of distrust where it's almost like for dismissive and avoidant, there's a pro and con where you see the need to be independent by ways of your upbringing, childhood, or what you were exposed to, but it does create a void of when there are God divined individuals that come into your life, you could miss the sign. But
Mm,
just to get to the other last two, and then we'll get into the discussion, anxious and preoccupied, those are feelings of fear and worry, negative
mm,
self view, positive view of others, but you're noticing that there's no view of oneself in this equation.
mm,
Desire for emotional intimacy, fear that they'll be hurt, may feel unworthy of love or seek attention
mm,
and approval of others.
mm,
And then you have disorganized, inconsistent in relationships, negative view of self, negative view of others, desire emotional intimacy, fear they will be hurt, want relationships but avoid them, out of fear. And this can also stem from childhood. So, in detailing all four of these attachment styles in adults, which also does stem from childhood and what we are exposed to, as you mentioned before, with
mhm,
ego, systonic, and dystonic.
mhm.
Let's just start with how does attachment styles make trauma responses feel safe, but also let's unpack that and the pro and the con of that.
Well, the easiest way to unpack that is to a case study, right? I'll use
Yes.
myself. So
Okay.
I grew up in foster care in a one parent home, and I my foster mother was like 50 years my senior, so she was older. So I'm like, oh my God, is she gonna die? When I
Mm-hmm.
became old enough to understand what was happening, she's older, and I'm like, wow, So when you are in foster care, there's that fear of abandonment.
Mm.
That's the most dominant feeling that you have. Because I was blessed to be in one home, but a lot of children move from home to home. So that created a lot of anxiety, feeling of fear and worry that dominated my life. And that also trickled into my relationships too. And I wasn't aware of that until I was much older.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, I may have, and then again, there are relationships where people, now, I look at um people who are been married for 20 plus years or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that their marriage was perfect, it's that they were able to do a lot of the rooted work
The work.
and
Yeah.
find out, oh, wait a minute, I'm still acting as this scared little girl or man.
Mm-hmm.
The only how a marriage is gonna last is that you have to uncover the wounds of your inner child
Mm-hmm.
so that you can be show up consistently in
Yes.
your relationships in a healthy way. So this is a beautiful picture of these different attachment styles. Because, for example, if you're anxious and preoccupied, like I was, you're gonna and feel sometimes unworthy of love.
Mm-hmm.
It's so many things can happen there. One, um, you're never gonna feel safe in your relationship,
Mm-hmm.
even if the person may be trying in their own way. If it's a God-fearing person, it helps because they can break through where others may not. They may be able to exercise that patience and really love you, love you in your current state, but also, you know, hold you accountable for doing the work. Have deep conversations, right?
Yeah.
To uncover the things and reassure you that that was when you were a child. You're older now. I'm not going to do that to you.
Yeah.
You need to hear that. Especially if that's how you process things. A person with foresight has to, and discernment has to realize, hey, This is what I'm presenting with. I love this person
Mm-hmm.
and I'm willing to be there with them, right? And likewise, they do the same to them.
The safety.
Yeah, but there needs to be, that's why marriage therapy is important.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like to add the spiritual aspect too, right?
Yes. Very important.
To really not just clinically express the concerns, but spiritually,
Mm-hmm.
and know that God is that third chord in that marriage.
And
It's a three-chorded relationship. Because
yes.
when no one is there to go to or schedule an appointment, you can both go to God in prayer and say, "Help me with XYZ, the
Mm-hmm.
specific problem." But when you can isolate the problem and say, "Hey," that's why it's good to have conversations and tell people that you can trust, hopefully, about your origin story. And
Yes.
if they
That's
pick it
important.
up, listen. Yeah, so how are you? Where are you now? Do you still feel worry or how do you feel about yourself? What do you desire? Do you know that you are loved? So these things need to be addressed because they lead to inconsistency in relationship we see here. Negative self-view. And always some people are what we say clingy or they always want to be near you or always and in men you can see these different attachment styles lead men into sexual immorality, pornography, and always want to be always it just too much over public display of
Too
affection,
much PDA.
too much PDA, and and just it is almost as if they're trying to fill a void
Yes.
where God should be, where that wholeness should. They should be expressing love, from a full cup, right?
Yes.
But they have to do that work. Okay, that
Mm-hmm.
can take a toll on a woman because she's a mother, especially a wife. She's doing other things, and yet you want her to always deliver in a sexual way or a PDA all the time. And, that's not, there's imbalance there.
Yes. You are
That
correct
needs,
about that.
these things need to be addressed. Then you have the feeling then you have some people may feel secure. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of these overlap. You know this.
They do, because some of these I do know, for secure and dismissive avoidant, not to cut you off, I would say for some of us, I would say for myself,
Yeah.
it can dismissive, avoidant, and secure can encusp together. But what I would say has been more prominent for me
Mm-hmm.
is dismissive and avoidant in terms of the need for independence, in terms
Mm-hmm.
of responsibility. Like as I grew, I felt as though I started to thrive in that, and I felt that that became a part of my identity in terms of um being a go-getter or feeling as if I have to, fight for something that I love, or a
Mm.
positive sense of self. I would say that grew over time because I was in my if only phases, and I was also trying to figure out who I was, both
Right.
mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I would say a negative view of others, it all depends on who the person was and the relationship and the backstory. So that's a
Mm.
loaded one because
Yes, that one is definitely loaded, and that negative view of others can come from your need for independence.
true.
Because if you feel that someone wants to help or do something that you feel you want to do yourself, you're gonna give off that energy and think negatively of that person. You're gonna be like, oh, why that
Yeah.
person? I need to do this. So that can create a lot of dissension there.
And
So you kind of so
distrust.
you have to watch that
Yeah.
because we're supposed to be interdependent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being independent gives you more stress because we're not, no man's supposed to be by themselves, right?
Yeah.
And we also have to submit to one another in love.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, yeah, I take the lead, you take the lead, but never one person all the time,
Yeah.
right? But that's why communication and the ability to be vulnerable and transparent is so important. Like, tell people how you're feeling. You know,
Yes.
even if they may not, if you think they may not understand in a way to help you, but let them know where you are, right? And where you're not willing to go because there's obviously a disconnect, right?
You're right about that.
But also where you would like to see them meet you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be extremely vocal about that. Like if you notice someone may feel upset about whatever is happening, you should go to them and say, "Hey, I did this because
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was in our best interest.
Yeah.
And I know you tried to do it, but considering our history and what we've been through, I feel that
Mm-hmm.
this is the way we should go." And explain to people the why. And they'll say, "Oh, okay." Now, if they still see it as a you trying to be Miss Thing, well, that's how they feel. But
Mm-hmm.
you should not stop being responsible or doing things in an orderly manner. You understand?
I
So,
do.
yeah, so you have to use discernment and you have to have courage and the wisdom to lead your life.
Yeah.
But these different styles do overlap. But you know what? Overall, I think it's important to be aware of them as they're happening
Yes. Yes.
because we would never always be in control. There's times where we're gonna feel tired, like if you're a woman, if you're on your cycle, or whatever is happening in the world, or you just feel like you don't have any energy. That's why you have to set boundaries with people. Like, listen, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
feeling this. I can't answer your question, or I can be, you know,
You can't be Jan Van Zant. Like we all
no,
have to go for help for ourselves, even in marriage,
yes,
where
yes.
sometimes a couple may either just use as an example, sometimes a couple may have that relationship
Mm-hmm.
struggles and they want to fix it themselves. And sometimes, especially in the African American
Yeah.
culture or the Caribbean culture or people of color, um, therapy is not something that is advertised that do it,
No.
spiritual counseling. It's more of like you don't tell your business outside of your marital home. When you're outside in
Yeah.
public, your
Yeah.
husband, wife, family
Yeah.
is all together. And I think oftentimes that can also create a lot of confusion with sometimes people can confuse emotional intensity with connection. That just
Mm-hmm.
because we argue all the time, this person loves me, or some people may
Mm.
associate, someone's strong emotion as love and passion, but it's loaded there. But
It's
to
very it's very loaded that you're right about that.
it's loaded there.
But I really think that people really need to have give people a lot of grace. And what's the golden rule? Do unto others and you would have done
That's
unto
yourself.
that comes from maturity though.
It does. It
That's why we
does.
have to be we should be selective and with the relationship we enter into, whether
Mm.
it's a spouse, a friend, even a workplace.
You have got to be selective.
Do your research on that company. What's the turnover like? How they treat their employees?
Mm-hmm.
People would give reviews all the time. So
Yeah.
does that match my energy? Does that,
Mm-hmm.
align with where I want to go and how I want to grow? Can I do that safely? Mental health is real. It's a real situation because
It's real.
that's the doorway to your soul, the mind. And
Mm-hmm.
the enemy comes in, and if you're in a bad energy field, you may not even recover.
Listen, it's
Right?
like a cyborg, like it kind of sucks you in. But how do
Yeah.
you think attachment wounds show up in adult relationships? Adult relationships, just to give context, it could be intimate, it could be
Mm-hmm.
marriage, it could be boyfriend, girlfriend, or it could be a friendship, or it can be a business partnership. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes our character tendencies or how we respond, like let's say if someone texts, or let's say if someone emails and gives a critique or criticism, sometimes it can be taken as, oh, so you don't think that I'm smart enough to come up with this idea?
Mm-hmm.
Or in
Mm-hmm.
terms of just use that as an example, or
Mm-hmm.
communication styles may differ. Sometimes it's cultural, sometimes it's just that person, but sometimes
No.
our attachment styles could have our thoughts start going. Like, Could I have done
Yeah,
this better? Or did I offend them? Or this person is being stuck up,
yeah,
but that's just how they, that's just
yeah.
them.
But here's the thing. That's just them not willing to grow and mature.
Yes.
You cannot contend with a child. If
No.
you're an adult or two children, and I see it in adults, I see sometimes children interacting in a grown
Mm-hmm.
person body. Again, it goes back to unpacking the bag.
You gotta unpack that bag.
Okay? Why? You have to go back to, and sometimes some people have to have it pointed out to them. They
Mm-hmm.
don't have the tunnel vision or the bandwidth or the openness to go in and see. They refuse to look at it. Some people don't take that time in this busy world where we're always on our phones and computers and doing this, doing that. Too many people are avoid, like they don't know how to they don't want to take the time out to
Mm-hmm.
pause, to rest and to reflect and to really examine their patterns,
Yes.
and go in that memory bank and say, hey, when I was a child, I did XYZ. Am I still doing that? You know, a lot of times you are. You think like a child. You remember what does God's word say? When I was a child, I thought like a child. I
I
spoke like a
reasoned
child. But when I become older, I must put away what? Childish
childish
things.
things. Mm-hmm.
See, so God's word has all the answers, and a lot of people, as a child, you want things your way, don't you? Right?
Yeah.
Because a child that come up, an infant, they have the reflexes and they want to eat it. The baby grunts, or the baby wants to eat, or you
Yeah.
want, yeah, you get up and you want to go, So a lot of people don't do. Sadly, again, could we do the trauma because that's what you feel safe there.
Yes.
You don't
It's
want
like
to grow.
the
You
response.
could. You don't even know what growth means.
Mm-hmm.
You're stuck there. So you almost have to have it whipped out of you.
Sadly
No,
enough.
no,
But
I don't mean that whoop like, maybe good. No, I'm just playing.
we're not
No, no,
condoning
no, we're
anything
not.
like that. But
We're not.
meaning
But you know
like
what
we
I mean, like,
almost have
yeah,
to, in some elements, once we hit
yeah,
rock bottom, it's literally like in life, it could be job loss or relationship dissolving.
yeah,
We almost have that moment where we're faced to look at ourselves in the mirror.
yes,
Yes.
yeah. And someone asked me years ago, when you look in the mirror, what do you see?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you have to be able to answer those questions. If you can't, then there's a problem. You
And
don't know
then,
who you
yeah.
are.
Yeah. And then we're
You
leaning
know.
towards the dystonic phase of,
Yeah. And then you get into
mhm.
the discontent, the blaming. It was this person, that person. That person could be dead. That person, you don't want to dismiss what they did, but
Mm-hmm.
do they really have power over you now? Do they?
Yeah.
Isn't it your decision to say, "Hey, I don't like feeling like this anymore. I want to fix it. I need help.
Yeah.
I need help."
We need help, absolutely. And that also brings us to our because we have two more one more question after this, because this is something that I've gotten a lot even in the field is, what do you think is going to help us question
Hmm.
patterns without shaming ourselves? Because it's similar to what I mentioned about secure and dismissive avoidant. For some individuals who, and there's the attachment styles quiz. I'll drop that in the link in the description box. That way you all can take it. And you don't have to share your results. If you want to email, ask rooted with Aisha at Gmail, you can. And
Hmm.
if you feel as if you want to share that. But oftentimes we shame ourselves like, oh my goodness, I'm insecure.
Hmm.
I'm the disorganized one. I'm the one that thinks of others like I need them, and I don't think of myself highly. So how do you think we can to really put that needle on the record in a way of helping us to have those healthy conversations with ourselves. It could be journaling or it could be therapy
Mm-hmm.
without shaming ourselves for what we didn't know or what we're afraid to confront.
We have to be willing to be honest.
Mm,
We have to be willing to be honest. If we don't know something, we don't know. We
mm-hmm,
have to be willing to ask for help.
mm-hmm.
Say, Lord, help me. I don't know. Or if when someone is with you in a dialogue or communication,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like if you're in a session with a client, you know, what do you say first? Well, what
Mm-hmm.
brings you here today?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you start.
Set the
What brings
tone.
you here today? How may I
Absolutely.
help you? So that's a prompt for them to say, let it all out.
No shame here. There's no shame.
Right.
Yeah.
Because obviously they know they need help. They schedule a session, and sometimes you may have clients that cancel because of fear. They
Yeah.
don't know, they don't want to be honest. They don't
Mm-hmm.
want to implicate people. They don't want to say their husband is hurting them, their mother is hurting, their father is hurting them.
Mm-hmm.
They're at the wrong place, or they're a danger to themselves
Or others.
or others. They don't want to admit the truth. And
Mm-hmm.
what does God's word say? For
The
you know the
truth
truth, and it will set you
sets you
free.
free. Exactly.
That
Exactly.
and that is instantly it happens.
Yes, because
Because
it's,
you will,
yeah.
because what you do in the moment is you
Mm-hmm.
expose the evil. Remember, we now know good and evil.
Evil.
So we expose it. When you tell the truth, you expose the evil. It
Mm-hmm.
comes to light, and the light cancels out darkness. It can't hurt you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You let it go. So the courage to tell the truth, that's where we are right now. That's where we should be. So when you
Yes.
with your clients, they should feel safe. But you have to ask them. Jesus asked questions. That's how
Mm-hmm.
he knew. And he told people, well, what do you need?
Yeah. Let's
He didn't
start
just go out,
there.
he just go giving up miracles. No, they were purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
So your client sits in your chair or on the other end of the phone call, you ask them what do they need? How may I help you? They should tell you. If they
Mm-hmm.
don't, then they're not ready.
They're not ready. They're
And there
not.
should be a criteria to know if someone's ready. After
There
at
are.
least
Yeah.
after at least the first 1 to 3 calls, you should know enough to know what the issue is and have a plan set up. If that, then they're
Mm-hmm.
wasting your time and their own time. They're just not ready. And I think as clinicians, we want to save everybody, but you can't. And clinicians also need therapy too. They need counsel as well.
Yes.
Because
That
they're
that's
gonna
important.
feel bad if they can't help the person or the person doesn't show up or whatever. But the thing is, you have to maintain the thought that you are there for
Mm-hmm.
those who want help.
Yes.
All who are laden, come unto me. I will give you rest, the Lord says. Come. He said, follow me.
Mm-hmm.
Those who didn't follow him, didn't they went and they made their choice. You know? Those people who
Yes.
were and as in the days of Noah, they saw him building this ark. I'm sure they were laughing at him because he had never reigned before. And he's building this big ship, just him, his son's wives, and his wife, all the animals two by two. But they were the people. They were laughing. They didn't take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, I'm sure, knew they should have gotten on that boat, but they listened to whoever.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't take that courageous step.
Yeah.
And you know what happened? They all died. They all perished because at that time the evil had come up unto the Lord and it was a stench. And God regretted creating mankind. So we have that moral responsibility to do what is right and make the right decision. Life is about making decisions.
Making
We're
decisions
here
and
because we
yeah.
made a decision to do it.
Yeah. Yes, we did. And also a decision to be willing to even sit in memories or reflecting or using our own self as case
Yeah.
studies.
Yeah.
And that's how you begin redefining what is normal in terms of trauma and the
Yeah.
truth. And one of the closing reflections that I want to leave with our listeners is, what baggage are we unpacking when we stop defending our trauma? And also, those that victimized us, and it could be family or it could be an intimate partner. And sometimes our traumas also project on our children because either that child might look like your abuser or look just as like the or have the same tendencies as the individual who contributed to the trauma. So what baggage are we unpacking when we stop defending our trauma?
We are unpacking the guilt,
Mm-hmm. The
the
shame.
the shame, being misunderstood, the
Mm-hmm.
confusion, the chaos, the pain, the suffering,
Mm-hmm.
the thoughts of the feeling of unworthiness,
Mm-hmm.
helplessness,
Yeah.
powerlessness,
Mm-hmm.
and the ability to lead one's life, to make the
Yes.
decision to learn and grow.
Mm-hmm.
That can look like learning how to read, write, education, right?
Mm-hmm.
Financial literacy. It all is all connected
All connected.
because a child cannot decide to get married. A child cannot decide to build a home and maintain it, right? Grew up and serve in a community. A child is not able to do that. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to go back and heal that child that's stopping you, that inner child that's so tainted, right? And disconnected from life because of the trauma. You have to heal the inner child. You have to unpack those bags. And think about it. The fact that if you're an adult,
Mm-hmm.
you have to think of it like you're not the only one in the world having to do this. You're not alone in this.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes people feel alone. No one understands me. No one gets it. Yeah, we do. Because we've been there. We're telling you
Mm-hmm.
now, whoever's watching, you're not alone in this. And you can make the decision to save your life even now. Even as we're having this discussion right now,
Yes.
you are able to do it. You can do it, right? You can say, I don't want to feel the pain anymore. Not to end your life, but to choose to live. Because when you choose to end your life, think of those that love you, that
Yes.
want you to live, that are sacrificed for you. Think of people that you're going to hurt, Choose to live. Be strong, be bold and courageous, and say to that abuser, you don't have power over me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You hurt that little boy, but I'm a grown man now. I'm not afraid of you.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hurt me anymore. If you're a little girl, I'm a grown woman now. You can't hurt me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm choosing to live. I'm not ashamed of what happened to me years ago because I wasn't able to fight. But
Mm-hmm.
now I am. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not where I used to be. Yeah, you have no power over me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I win.
Yes. And if she's still here,
Yeah.
then she definitely won. And thank you so
Yes.
much, Dr. Makita, for sharing that closing reflection. And the one pattern that I want our listeners to gently start noticing this week is um tied into what we talked about with the attachment styles, either if it's avoidant, either if it's secure, either if it's, preoccupied, or either if it's disorganized. And these are all theoretical patterns, but most importantly, notice our own tendencies. Are we more
Mm.
avoidant when conflict arises, or are we the ones to really address it right then and there? And we want that person to listen. But also, ask ourselves, okay, I'm exerting this energy, but the person on the other side, they're not exerting anything. I'm the one that's really doing some of the talking. So oftentimes, let's also reverse the roles and be the one that's listening. And also let them do the work because we know what we want. We are sure of ourselves. We could be the secure one in the room. And
Yes.
oftentimes we feel the need to control the situation or not
Mm-hmm.
allow that other person to be accountable for what their lack thereof of not doing. So, the most important thing of patterns and tendencies is giving ourselves a chance to become self-aware of what we're doing and also being honest. Like,
Yes.
sometimes, most of the time, we know the truth. And sometimes some people are trifling and we know that they are, but we still have them in our spaces. So,
Yeah. But I will say something quick before I forget. I
yeah.
want to say at times too, we we need to also avoid being passive aggressive.
Yes.
We need to
Yes.
also lead with love. And
Yes.
if we see that a person is doesn't like to stand up and voice how
Mm-hmm.
they really feel, we also need to challenge them.
Challenge. That's important. That's
We
important.
need to challenge them. See, listen, I've noticed that when we
Mm-hmm.
have our conversations, you shut down, but I know that you're upset. I know, see, this is confronting the bad pattern, right?
There you go.
I know that you're upset. I see it. I know that you want to say something. I know you feel how you feel, but talk about it. Tell me how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get this out, and that challenge people because that's going to get them to um develop a different pattern.
Yes.
Some people have to be forced, believe it or not. But
Sadly
but
enough.
but, but it's approach.
Approach is important
But
because when you're
being passive
approaching, yeah,
aggressive and
it doesn't set the
being
right tone.
it doesn't set the right tone because here's the thing, and I wanna end with this on my end. Let's say you're someone that really wants to get on that boat, and you really want your loved one to get on, whether it's your spouse or your adult child or whatever. But I've had to challenge you and your siblings many times and
Yes.
put the law down. Say, listen, because as your child grows, you
Yeah.
give them autonomy. You allow them to make their decisions. But when it
Mm-hmm.
involves me in my life in my things, and because I think a lot of single mothers especially,
Mm-hmm.
we give too much. Is a reason why you're the parent and you have more experience and foresight. All done in decency and order, of course. But you have to set the tone and say, listen, this is what I see you do. It's not working here. It never has. You have to grow up in this moment. Tell me how you really feel.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like it, you don't like it. But it's going to happen because
Yeah.
I understand why it needs to happen. You may not understand, but I pray that you do. Till
Yes.
such time, this is what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose to come or not, but know that there are dire consequences for disobedience.
Mm-hmm.
So, whatever it is going on inside of you, take it to God in prayer, but make a decision swiftly because your life depends on it. Now, do you want
Mm-hmm.
to live or do you want to die? That's it. You also have to give people ultimatums. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't have time to waste. Time belongs to no man.
Mm-hmm.
I think we become enablers because we give people too much time and opportunity and access. Too much access, too much time. No, it's the reason why appointments are made. And some clinicians say, listen, if you don't show up, you have to pay a fee. And I agree with that because my time is
Mm-hmm.
precious.
Yeah.
So we have to hold people like to a standard. Okay, you're not gonna just call and cancel. If you cancel, you pay $25. The next time 50. Well, I bet they will choose better. So we
Yeah.
also have to set a standard.
Yeah, set a standard and expectation.
Yeah, so when you have people who are maybe a little, have a slower growth pattern,
Mm-hmm.
you can't grow down to them. They have to grow up to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you're on
Yes.
a boat and you're trying to make it safely on the other side, and you have
Mm-hmm.
that weak link, you have to let that weak link know I see you. But
Yeah.
you have to become strong and bold and courageous. Otherwise, we're all gonna die.
And
And
sink fast.
and I'm not gonna die. So you either have to be thrown over the side of the boat, or you're gonna sit up straight
Not
and
thrown over.
well, sometimes you do.
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah.
You do have to let people go. Remember, we started off. You have
Yes.
to let people go.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. So either you're gonna get those oars in your hand and start rowing, or you're gonna get gone. And that's loving yourself.
That's loving yourself. Yes.
That's loving yourself. And mothers, especially black mothers, they
Yep.
have borne in this Black History Month, they
Mm-hmm.
have borne the weight of the
Mm-hmm.
world and these children, these fatherless children. And they're gonna grow up and be so and so, and a lot of them still pining after their daddies. That's the problem with a lot of these men. But listen, I'm not a man. I'm a woman and I'm your mother. But if you want to find your father, you what the do there's the door.
Mm-hmm.
But do not expect me to do anything I am not conditioned and called to do. Okay? Because I shall live and not die. My time has not yet come. So you remember that Joe Clark movie,
Lean on me?
Lean on Me, when he said Kid Ray, the Hispanic guy, and dressed in his suit, and he said, I'm leaving the same for me. You remember what he told him?
You'll be
He
dead
said,
in a year.
you'll be dead in a year. And he was right.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, a lot of children, young adults, are going, that's what happened to them.
Yeah.
They're no longer here with us
Mm-hmm.
because they disobeyed. And it all come, listen, we can go up and down, and all the information you guys are getting here, take it, use it. But remember, it comes down to your decision.
It
But the
does.
decision you make, it affects other people.
Yep.
But don't think for 1 minute that I'm gonna pine away if you do whatever you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it will hurt for a while, but I'm not gonna be guilty because you did something you're not supposed to do of your own free will.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to understand. We'll talk about this in other. This is so loaded, but we're gonna
It's
talk
so
about other
loaded.
things because
Yeah.
there's so much you can do. I
There's
feel
so
that
much.
people, if you look at all those four things, people are stretched.
Yeah. They're stretched
We've
thin.
already we've already outlined the things that have had the trauma. We started off with trauma.
Mm-hmm.
How do we unpack it? We ask all these questions. But at the end of the day, what do we believe? Where
Mm-hmm.
are we getting our information from? Where do we spend our time?
Who's in our ear?
Who is in our ear?
That's important. Who's in your ear?
Yeah. What do we
Mm-hmm.
listen to day in, day out? That matters. That tells me who you are. It
Mm-hmm.
tells me who you aspire to be. Yeah, and whether male or female, you have to pick up on that. And you have to
Yes.
do an about face and flee.
Quick.
God's word said, resist the enemy
And
and he
you
will
flee
flee. And
with
the
the
enemy comes
quickness.
in different forms, different faces.
Different. And it comes in what's more, and what, and it, to conclude, it comes in what's most familiar to us.
Yes, what's
And
familiar, what feels safe and
and
comfortable.
sometimes even in our dreams, it may
Yes,
be,
yes. And
yes.
it cuddles that inner child that
Mm-hmm.
wants to feel loved and understood and seen.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels, it strokes the ego because I want it my way.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't Backstreet Boys. We don't want it our way. But sometimes our way, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It is not. It is not.
We have to learn to listen to other people, have a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
a mature conversation without deflecting and running away and asking why this and why that. Why? No. Be humble,
Mm-hmm.
be gracious and kind.
I'm so done. Thank you so much, Dr. Makita, for blessing us once again with your presence because this conversation is so loaded. And I want to let all of you know that on this podcast, as we're also unpacking both physically and mentally, because that's also because we carry a lot of emotional weight that also impacts our own physical health. So, we're also going to be talking about health on this podcast, as well as how we can also advocate for ourselves. And even when you're in the hospital, how you can advocate for yourself. If you're giving birth,
Yes.
how others around you can feel empowered to advocate and not be afraid because you're black and brown and I don't want to get arrested. First of all, if that's my loved one and they're in a vulnerable state, handcuff me, please. But I
No,
want to,
you're not gonna get arrested because
yeah,
we know that they listen. Here's
yeah.
here's the thing, since you brought that up. People make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Every decision made, a lot of times, wow, certain consequences become movements, right?
Sadly enough.
But we have to unpack things. We have to get all the information
Yes,
to
yes,
make
yes.
the most honest conclusion. And a lot of the time, we do have a lot of passive spouses, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of men, especially, I hate to see especially black men, but a lot of and that stems from a lot of things. A black man going into an establishment, he's already scared, especially in these times, that if he exerts his power, he may be
He's seen as a
arrested.
threat.
So you have to look at that too. But there
Yes.
are options. There's home births, and the thing is, and that's where you have to establish a relationship with your doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You have to vet them. Will they allow you to read the energy? Will they allow you to ask questions? Will they shut you down or make you feel inferior because, they're this, they're here, and you're there? Yeah, it all comes down to that position that you partner with for your birth. Do they allow the men to be there and support their wives and ask questions? If you can't do that early on, find someone who does allow it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they become your advocate as well. As healthcare professionals, we're also advocates for our patients.
Yes.
Okay? So you also need the burden is really, as a former nurse, the burden is on that clinician
Mm-hmm.
to keep mother and baby safe because they're the skilled one.
Exactly.
They have her
Exactly.
history. They know what's going on with her. So they should know what not to do when, and especially if she's forthcoming and telling them what she's eating or supplements she's taking, they will know what to do. And you
Mm-hmm.
have to speak up. But when it's time for delivery, your clinician should lead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you're having a home birth, if they see that you're in labor too long, okay, we need to convert to a hospital. They should call the hospital. I'm so and so. This is my medical license. I'm admitting this patient here. I need a bed or a room or wherever. Come up. You should also check to see if that is an admitting physician.
Mm-hmm.
Because some physicians aren't licensed or unable to admit you as a patient. Believe it or not. So
Mm-hmm.
you need an admitting doctor. Is that doctor in that hospital group? Do they work at the hospital? You see what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah, I do.
But they may still be a private, you can still deliver you in a smaller setting. There's so much homework to do before you
Yes.
decide to plan to have a
Yes.
child. So I want to close by saying that
Yeah.
you need to really align with people who will advocate for you. And
Mm-hmm.
as a husband, you should also advocate for your wife if she can't speak. You should have stuff lined up. If something happens, he takes the lead. And you need someone who will really be the extension of you.
Yes, and that's something that we will get into more in depthly on another episode because I do know that that in itself, black maternal mortality, I can say maternal
Yeah,
mortality, but we have to be
we
specific
have
to
to.
what's actually happening. And as
Yes,
Afro-Caribbean women, that's
yes,
something that we have to speak
yes,
to for ourselves. But
yes,
I want to thank you again, Dr. Makita, for
yes.
another powerful, insightful, and wholesome conversation. And I do hope that this podcast episode has been a blessing to you who's watching. And please, if you have not already, please like, share, and subscribe. But
Yes.
also, please join the Rooted with Aisha community because we're going to be having some more conversations like this, even more. And we are also going to be inviting others to also contribute and speak and also share their insight because it's also important. But Dr. Makita, she's not going anywhere. If she'll have us in her, oh yes. If you'll have us in your space, you always have a seat at this table.
Well, thank you.
Here you go with this again.
No, I'm sorry, I'm kidding. Thank you guys so much for listening today and for supporting Really with Aisha and the Grounded Back podcast. Thank you
Yes.
for having me, Dr. Makita Ansa, your soul revivalist, helping you renew your spirit, revive your soul, and rediscover your divine purpose.
Thank you. And I hope that your bag feels lighter after
It
we
does.
took a lot of stones out of the bag or stress or trauma or
Yes,
anxieties. So it
yes,
is my prayer that your bag feels a lot lighter. And even if it probably doesn't right now, it's a
yes.
journey. It's a journey. So give yourself that grace to go on that journey. And we're here to support you.
Yeah, we
We're not
hope you
here
feel
to,
seen.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because we're not
Mm-hmm.
here to do the work for you, but we're here to support you as you do the work.
Yes.
Awesome. You all take care and thank you so much for joining.